me hear a little bit about uni. One thing that I know about uni is health, because you're like, I remember you saying, I'm done with health though.
Hey!
So like, explain this uni side now.
Okay, so you go to the University of Nairobi.
So you get called to university?
Yeah. And I am required to go and, of course, pay homage first, you know, to Professor Mbithi, because my mother knew him personally. I don't know, what, now that I think about it, I'm going to ask her. Was she just making sure I'm on campus? And you know, you're frozen by the kaseki, and you're like, okay, I'll send by my mom, like in Takapa, because if you go, and and then she asks you, did you see Professor Mbithi? And you're like, so university was interesting. For me, the first time I was out of home.
What are you studying? What?
Econ and maths. See what will happen, and then we used to walk across to Chiromo. Sometimes when I'm on the highway, I'm like, where did we used to walk through? Then you realize, oh, across the Chancellor's Court, okay. University was very interesting. Very interesting. It was my first understanding, number one, that my life was not regular. If you come from Nairobi, and you come from a private school in Nairobi, you are 0.0000000000001% of the population, not just of the campus, of this country. Okay, the way you see the world is not the way they do. Ruth, Anna Thoro, myself, Anna Maingi, well, we were the people who went to the bookshop and bought t-shirts, and then went to Gikomba and bought jeans, because that's Kole life. Your roommate is from a whole other world. She's got a pink chiffon skirt that's pleated, and you're like, how do you keep the pleats if you don't take it to the dry cleaners? No, because those days, chiffon pleats had to be kept. Because my mother did have pleated skirts, and I remember they went to White Rose. VIP dry cleaner. Yes, because that's how the pleats were done and kept in place. So, you know, she's got a pleated chiffon pink skirt and white shoes, and you're like, hey, what's up? But first, amekuja Nairobi.
Probably the first time.
First time, amekuja Nairobi, ako University of Nairobi, na hapa ndio utapata bwana. The rest of us will just here and have a good time and finish, because mother said you best graduate. We go to class, we write our notes, we buy reams of paper from the bookshop, we know when to go, we subscribe to Newsweek. Hey, Ruth Bogwa. We subscribe to Newsweek, so our Newsweek was actually delivered to the bookshop, so we would pick it up every Friday. That's who we were. But it was a fantastic time. I remember distinctly just enjoying not just the lessons, the people, because you begin also to meet other people. And
boys now, men.
I mean,
all your life you've been in a
girls' school. But I don't know, they weren't that exciting. I mean, they were nice. I mean, they always walked us from ADD, because I used to study at ADD. All the ARC students were there, and I think that's how I know Nameless. Nameless, just remind me?
Yes, comments, Nameless.
Yes, that's how I know him, from ADD. That's how I know Josie Tati, because he used to walk me and my girls and my friends back, because for 2 years I was in Stella, Awinja. That's far from everybody else. And then I moved to Hall 12. So I really enjoyed college. I cannot say I hated the work. I didn't. I enjoyed the learning. I enjoyed my lecturers. I loved the learning. And especially in my first 2 years, it's just like, oh my goodness, they say these things. You know, I remember, I will never forget the sociology of deviant behavior. It was taught by Ken Oko. And you know, these people don't have preamble. They walk into class and they say, so, what is deviant behavior? You're like, well, we're right in there, aren't we? So I really, and I guess that's why I tend to go back to school. I itch.
Yeah, in fact,
I've gone back to school several times. And I wanted to go back to school in 2020, and then COVID happened. I enjoy the learning experience. I really do.
What is it about it that keeps calling you back?
When you realize, I didn't know that. And then, and I think it was just the University of Nairobi experience, but it was later on, you know, starting off with just a few courses where you go to Strathmore and you do like, you know, a 1 week module, and you think, I learned more from everybody else in the class than from the teacher.
Oh.
Yes, because executive education is also an exchanging of thinking. Actually, this is going to get me into trouble. But here's the thing. When you hear people saying, "Mbona unaongea ni kama hujaenda shule?" So what happens when you go to an institution of higher learning? You learn to deal with dissenting views. But you also learn that your opinion is also valid. And what happens is you meet people who think that you must be on board with their stuff. No, I'm not. And you're going to have to live with it. And here's the problem. I'm actually fine. I don't run in herds. I don't. And I like my own company. And if I'm the only one who stands on this mountain and will die with this mountain, I will. But also, what a robust learning experience teaches you is that you might consider prostitution deviant behavior. Somebody in the class will say, actually, but doesn't that also cut across to anything a woman does or a man does for financial gain, including a meal?
Yep.
You have to be open to hearing it.
Yep.
So when you meet people who don't know how to do that and don't know how to have
mature conversations.
Yes. Duh.
When their opinion or their belief is being challenged.
It's being challenged. Yeah. You're like, mbona unanga kama mtu hujaenda shule? That's where it comes from. Yeah. But also, you must remember when you graduate, you're given the powers to read. But I think the other thing they need to also tell you is that now you have the power to think. University doesn't teach you anything else but how to think.
Do you feel like university, just to forward a bit and then we'll come back, do you think that university then played a huge effect on the kind of conversations that you'd later on go to have on radio?
Actually, I think I've said this to you before. I have the perfect storm between a private school, you know, a primary setting, and a public school education at the University of Nairobi. I literally, that hurricane landed.
Yep.
If I didn't have those two, I couldn't be who I was. And if I did not have that 4-year experience at the University of Nairobi, my ability to see things could not be what it is. Because you can also be one-sided.
Yep. Yep.
But I can do both.
Yep.
I can be as bougie as you need me to be, and then if you want to come with me, I will roll with you.
Just to
come.
Tease this, I just finished a conversation with a Juma. And Juma is from Turukana.
Yes.
And Juma has been on high
everything.
Fashion.
Yes.
So she's got that in terms of wallets.
Yes.
So I'm understanding exactly what you're saying. You've had the bougie life.
Yes.
Name it. You
yes.
know how to walk, talk, live it.
Everything.
But because of that,
and I grew up in South B. And I also fought to get into a number 11 matatu at Gill House. I got that.
I get it.
Yeah.
Your experience is your superpower.
Exactly. Oh. Okay. Now you're the one. Right there. Papa.
Your experience is your superpower.
It is.
Okay. Man, there's so much so far, but I'm loving the progression and it's mind-blowing. Okay, so let's continue with this. So, university, I've heard about that first job that you had at Barichi Road, and you got this next job where you're going to Visions and everything. What's the next transition from there? What happens when do you start radio before? What's next?
What's next? So you must remember, you know, working for Kirinyaga Works, working for Rufo, that was all in campus and before campus, you know. I finished campus, and sure enough, that's when I met Isaac Owando. So CBA for a couple of years. I still think, and I know, you know, the brand is NCBA, hands down, the most amazing boutique bank there ever was. Without a doubt. And it's not just because I worked there. Remember, I was a customer.
First.
Way after.
Okay, you said this story, but I just sort of want to reiterate it. You finish campus and you're like, first of all, we're not chilling. It's job after job after job. We're continuing with this.
Do you know my mother?
And now you're like, because I've got this degree, maybe I can apply higher?
Yeah, but remember, everybody tells you, because you've done econ, oh, I guess you're going to go into banking. And remember, in that, kazi za bank ni nzuri na unapatanga loan. You also do this thing where you live precariously for your parents. So, excuse me. So you're sitting there saying, yes, I think that's what I'll do. And you look, and you're not central bank material. I was never meant for that. By the way, I could 100% work in banking today. If you'd asked me to touch banking 10 years ago, I'll tell you crazy. But banking...
What?
Yes.
If asked today and the right thing presented,
yes.
You're...
Easily. And I'll tell you why. And then we'll go back to your conversation. And it's because banking finally, some banks, not all, but banking finally understands it sells a consumer good.
Which is?
Money. The fastest moving consumer good. If ever there was an FMCG...
Money is it. All you have to do is look at the amount of transactions that happen on a day.
And because some banks are beginning to understand that, they understand that the day of saying, open a current account with us and get a checkbook, what is that? Let's start there. Open a savings account. No, you're actually a depository, if that. What we need now is true financial services. In fact, I was having...
Just break this a bit more for me so I understand it.
So, when you look at what it is, let's start with young people. Actually, let me use Adele. Adele. Oh, I do miss working with her. So, Joshua Gara gets appointed CEO, has a really good interview with me, but gets a chance to meet Linda and Adele, because Adele used to come in just as I was coming off air.
Yeah.
And, he's almost like curious to know, what do you guys think? And Kina Adele and Kina Linda, like, first and foremost, what is a check? Do you do that thing for 3 days? Why am I coming to your banking hall? Why? To do what? But remember, they have a spectrum of customers. They have customers in their 70s, but they also have customers, because they need to have the next generation and wave of customers, otherwise they'll die out. As their customers who in their 70s die out, they could close.
Some banks.
Yeah, like some banks. Yes, I know, you just die out. But you could tell Joshua felt challenged. Because banking, bankers could be very aloof, them and their very dull clothes, black suits. You could never work in banking dressed like this. But now the need is, I have information, and I am also very interested in understanding what my money can do for me. I'm not my mother. I don't keep money there and then I go to the bank and I ask for a slip, uniandiki a balance. No. Those are not my needs. I still think banking, by and large, is still struggling with where are people going, and where they find customers going, they tend to hop into that space. But I find that the banks that will thrive will understand, first and foremost, that they will need to communicate about money in the same tone, in the same vibe, to borrow a word from 20-somethings. As Coca-Cola does, I'm sorry. You've got to ignite my senses. Because if you're going to be stodgy, because you think you handle money and you're important, there are people who still, they can't tell you the last time they handled cash. They get to a mall and they have to pay and they're like, don't you have an MPESA?
Talking behind the scenes and was saying it must be so difficult when you travel out of these countries, when you realize...
Yes. Actually, you become a little... You're like, well, why don't you have M-Pesa?
Please send the OTP.
Yeah, it's madness. But I find that banking in and of itself is growing and will morph. It will have to, because it's in its current form, it will die. In its current form, it will die.
We're talking about what COVID did in terms of handling money.
Handling money. We're almost a no-touch economy, no cash economy. So I would get into banking today. But if you'd asked me after I left, I'm like, no way.
That's a big one.
No way.
For me to hear you say that, because there's times I've asked you, there's some things that you've told me are almost, Richard, that's a hell no. And one of them was, would you work in government? Before you'd be like, at that time when there was a rumor that was...
Yes.
And now even banking, would you go back and work in the bank? So
I definitely would. Because, and I think also, having made money make money, you know what I mean? Understanding the language of money, but also understanding what financials is about. It's not just about what I have. I mean, I have an amazing relationship manager at Standard Chartered. She's abandoned me, though, for good things. She's gone to Dubai. She's been seconded. And I remember when Nelly first, you know, would just do random things and come and say, why do you have that much money in your current account? Can I please sweep it?
Nice.
And I love the boldness with which she would say that to me. Like, really, chick? I didn't, really? But, you know, on the other hand, she was like, you're holding too much in Kenya shillings in your savings account. Can you please move it to dollars?
Jeez, do you know when Chris Kirubi passed on and his will was...
It was red.
The cash balance was the most mind-blowing.
I know.
Yeah, I was like...
And guys were like, and you could see...
The shock.
And I'm sorry to say this, the financial illiterate comments, because that's financial illiteracy.
Yep, it is.
Were like, that's all you had in cash? Cash is for doing stuff.
Yep.
You're not your grandmother. Because if you are your grandmother, you might as well keep it here, because that's where my grandmother kept hers. You know?
There's a difference between being broke
Yes.
and poor.
Yes.
Rich people are broke.
Yes.
Rich people get broke.
Yes.
Or let me say wealthy people get broke because they don't have cash.
Yeah, they don't have cash.
Anyway, let's go.
And the minute they have some cash, Solomon and I always laugh about this. And I remember it's because we both had an experience. And I remember there was a morning I got a big payout, sizable. And I remember in 45 minutes that thing was gone. It's like pay this, bank balance 20 G's again. Okay. and that's the truth. Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a slight break. Just a 1 second break. We come back to this conversation.
All right.